How is it going, everybody? My name is Noah Holly, and you're watching the latest edition of the Pride Report. Now, today is going to be a very unusual edition of this show because I'm going to be talking about very few college basketball games. And that is because, for one, there's really just nothing going on this week, and two, I have a lot of stuff that I want to talk about before conference play begins because, as I mentioned, this is the last week of the Pride Report before the new year. So instead what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be discussing which players and teams have surprised me the most during the first month and start my conference preview series. So it should be very interesting, so let's just go ahead and hop right into it. First, we're going to take a look at the little action that went down on Monday. We're going to start with Minnesota, who was pushed to the brink by Drake, but eventually survived. Minnesota actually had this game won before the final seconds, but Drake hit a meaningless three at the buzzer to cut the final deficit to 1. But forget the misleading score. At no point during this game did the Gophers look like a top-tier team in any conference, let alone the Big Ten. Christmas break could not come soon enough for Minnesota, who has just been playing really poor basketball as of late. Also, Oregon was challenged by Texas Southern, who remains winless on the year. But to Oregon's credit, Texas Southern is probably the best 0-9 team in the history of sports. They have played a ridiculous schedule, and I don't think that this is the first Big 18 that they have challenged. Also, Louisville rolled to an easy win. And finally, Northwestern beat Chicago State in one of the most lopsided sporting events that you will ever see. Northwestern led 55-8 at halftime. 55-8. But that was about all from Monday, so now let's take a look at what today's slate has to offer. You know, Tuesday's slate actually really isn't that bad. I mean, yeah, my standards have probably been grossly lowered by the lack of quality action this week, but there are some hidden gems on today's slate. We're going to start with Mississippi State, who will put its undefeated record on the line against Cincinnati. Don't be fooled, though. The Bulldogs have played absolutely no one. They're like the SEC's version of Georgetown. I highly doubt this game is even close. I like Cincinnati by at least 15. Even though they haven't really been playing as well as of late. Texas and Michigan should be interesting. No Andrew Jones for the Longhorns. Jones has a fractured wrist, which is just terrible news for both him and Texas. He was playing really well this season. He was their leading scorer at 15.2 points per game. Anyway, I got Michigan in this one on the road. I think they win back-to-back. Seton Hall is back in action. Pirates have been playing great basketball as of late. They have one of the best starting fives in all of college basketball. They should roll to a win here over St. Peter's, who plays with the second slowest pace in the country, behind Virginia. In-state rivals Louisiana Lafayette and Louisiana Tech are facing off tonight as well. And finally, Albany will take on Memphis. Albany is 10-1 on the year, but has yet to play a member of a Big 7 conference. I think that their battles against Vermont in the America East Conference are going to be a lot of fun. Not sure who I think is going to win that conference. I think that's going to be one of the more fun tournaments of the year. But anyway, I'm going to take Memphis here. Guess who's back in the news, ladies and gentlemen? I just realized that I wrote Lonzo instead of LaMelo all throughout this script. But anyway, LaMelo and LiAngelo Ball have signed professional basketball deals with the Lithuanian club that I'm not even going to try to pronounce. This deal will effectively end any chance of the Balls playing college basketball, which I guess is a good thing because then I won't have to talk about them anymore. This team competes in two leagues, the lesser competitive of the two being where LaMelo and LiAngelo will earn consistent playing time. Let's just say that the Bulls' erratic, self-centered style of play is probably not going to work in a Lithuanian league. Both these guys are going to have to make some serious adjustments to their game, which I'm sure LeVar Ball is going to have some type of problem with, but I guess we'll see how it goes. Or not, because like I said, this is probably going to be the last time I will cover the Ball family, as they have completely cut their ties with college hoops, and that's all we talk about here. For this next segment, I'm going to be recapping the first month of college basketball, and one of the ways I'm going to be doing it is discussing some of the players that I may have underestimated coming into the year that have emerged as stars. It took a long time to whittle this list down, but I'm going to start with Trey Holder of Arizona State. This guy can flat out score. Coming into this season, of course, I knew the name, but I'm not sure I was aware of the game. Arizona State's success has helped him make a big-time name for himself, and I'm glad the world is finally figuring out what he can do. He can just shoot from anywhere on the court. His range is stupid, and he can run the offense just as well as he can fuel the offense with his elite scoring ability. And what's so impressive to me is that arguably his two best performances this season came against Xavier and Kansas, the two best teams that ASU has played this year, in which he scored 40 and 29 points respectively. He has consistently stepped up in the biggest game. In March, this guy is going to be an absolute nightmare to face. Now that Holder isn't the only Sun Devil that can produce at an elite level, I think it will open up opportunities for him all season long to have more 40 or 29-point outbursts. I'll be surprised if he's not a first-team All-American by the season's end. I had a hunch about Trae Young, but the instant success of his fellow point guard, Colin Sexton, definitely took me by surprise. This guy is unbelievable. He's like De'Aaron Fox last year, but with even better footwork and a bigger motor, and he plays with even more intensity. Sexton is just so unbelievably fast. If you're matched up with him in transition, you might as well just get out of the way because he will embarrass you 11 out of 10 times. He is absolutely fearless in all aspects of the word and can consistently create shots for himself or others in the toughest of spots, as you can see here, while doing it all in the flashiest way possible. I truly mean it when I say that he's the most fun player to watch in all of the sport. All I can say is enjoy him while you can, Alabama fans, because he'll be off to the pros this offseason faster than he can get to the basket on a breakaway drive. Another player I want to talk about is Luke May. I don't know if I've talked about him a ton on this show yet. In my opinion, May is undoubtedly the breakout player of the year at this point. He's currently on a 3-game double-double streak. That's probably not the first time he will go on a run like that this season. He has just been absolutely remarkable all year long, and UNC needed him to be good, but I don't think that anyone expected him to be this good. North Carolina coming into the year had a lot of questions on their front line, but May has shored all those concerns up. He has just been fantastic. He is producing at an All-American level. Now, what teams did I underestimate? Of course, the logical one to start with would be Arizona State, who has gone from not even being considered to be a player in the Pac-12 to being a top 5 team. But I feel as if I covered them enough in yesterday's show. If you want my thoughts on the Sun Devils, go watch that. But I will say before I begin that yes, of course, I did not expect Arizona State to be this good. But I'm not going to go too in-depth, like I said. The team I'm going to start with today is Villanova, the current number 1 in the country. The Wildcats lost so many pieces to graduation from a year ago, but have somehow been just as good. Once again, Villanova is led by an experienced core, this year's consisting of Michael Bridges, Jalen Brunson, and Phil Booth. Dante DiVincenzo has had his flashes of greatness as well. It's just so impressive how Jay Wright is able to cycle through veteran leaders without any sort of drop-off. It's what makes Villanova one of the top programs in the sport, and they should be able to retain that status for many years to come. I know I talked about them a lot in the last segment. I talked about May specifically, but I think I underestimated UNC as well. Initially I disagreed with UNC being slotted at number 9 in the preseason AP poll because I worried about this team getting any production down low, but Luke May has shored up any concerns I may have had. Like I mentioned, he's been fantastic. Also, Kenny Williams has emerged as one of the top 3-point shooters in the ACC. Yes, this is still a very young team with plenty of unproven players, and the Tar Heels have some serious work to do before I can acknowledge them as legitimate contenders to repeat as national champs, but they definitely exceeded my expectations thus far. UNLV was another one. I don't think that they were on my radar at all. I wasn't really thinking about them at all coming into this season, but an NCAA tournament bid should be on the horizon for these guys. They've had a really great start to their season. Not enough people are talking about Brandon McCoy. He's been right up there in terms of production with almost all of the rookie big men. Behind huge nights from McCoy, UNLV has easily handled major conference teams Illinois and Utah, and they have beaten Arizona in overtime. I still have Nevada as my favorite in the Mountain West, but I think that UNLV has just as good of a chance. Who knows, we might see both teams make it in. It is going to be tough for Nevada, who's not going to have any good non-conference wins, but it could be possible. I guess we'll have to wait and see until March. But all in all, really impressed by UNLV. I think they're going to be a very good team this season. But that is going to do it for today's episode, ladies and gentlemen. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, be sure to subscribe and to follow the show on Twitter at CPP Pride Report. Tune in tomorrow. I have an awesome episode planned. It's going to be more like a podcast. It's probably going to run a little bit long, but it should be a lot of fun because I'm going to have Tony Patelis and Sean Bach join me. Those are two of the must-follows in the college basketball Twitter community. Really looking forward to that. So definitely check that out. I'm going to split it into 2 parts maybe. One with Tony and one with Sean. We'll see how it goes. And then on Thursday, I am going to be breaking down the entire slate over the holidays and finishing up my conference play previews as I mentioned. So a lot of good content coming up on this show. So I really hope that you stay tuned for that. But once again, thank you so much for watching. That is going to do it for today's episode. And I will see you tomorrow.